Hello everyone and welcome back. This is a video that I didn't know I would ever have to make, and I'm actually kind of happy that I have to make it because it's a nice problem to have. After the one really popular video I uploaded went semi-popular, for me at least, I've been getting a lot more emails from indie authors asking if I could review their books, and I love that. I'm so happy about that. But I noticed in almost every email I got, there was something to the effect of, oh, I'm not sure what you review, or they say things like, it looks like you review mostly this, only I had a couple different people say a couple different things of, oh, it looks like you mostly review fantasy or you mostly review sci-fi. So I decided I should probably make a list of what kind of things I actually like to review. The problem is that that's a very long list. I am a firm believer that everyone can find something in every genre for them. Genres as a concept are so broad that there's probably a subgenre in there that you would actually like. So I can't say, oh, nothing in this genre. And even age ranges to a certain extent. I'm more hesitant to jump into YA. So a YA story might have to do that little bit extra to convince me, but I'm not wholly against them. However, there are certain premises that I'm really iffy about that I just don't think I would be the best reviewer for. Now, none of this is tea. I am not saying by any means that, oh, these are problematic or toxic or whatever. This is literally a case of, I don't generally like these things, and I don't want to be one of those reviewers on Goodreads that gives like a 2-star review and starts their 7-paragraph retort with a, no, I don't like these kinds of books, because everyone reading that is going, then why did you read it? So instead, I tried to sit down and make a list. The problem is that the list got away from me, because I could come up with an addendum or a qualifier for every premise that I came up with where, well, I could read it if it was like this. So I gave up trying to come up with hard and fast, I will not read this. And so it's more of a, I will not read this unless. Now I've got 12 of them here, so I'm going to try to go fast because I don't want this video to be too long. But every single one of these is going to have a premise that 99% of the time I don't usually like, with that 1% that I would. So first up, number 1, we have a plot where popularity is an end goal. This is your new girl comes to school and she wants to be BFFs with the head cheerleader-esque. Or it could be a case of, you know, I'm trying to think of an adult equivalent of that, or new at work and she wants to be, you know, in with the higher ups. Whatever it is, where the person just wants to be, you know, accepted by the cool people of whatever society they're in. Unless it's a satire. It's a comedy. It's Mean Girls, the Heathers, poking fun at the entire idea of it. The kind of idea where it knows 5 pages in that what this girl wants, or what this boy wants, or what this NB person wants is kind of pointless, and it tells you that up front. That kind of story would be better for me. Otherwise, I'll spend the entire story waiting to be like, okay, let's get to the part where she realizes that she didn't need to be popular and that cute nerdy boy is actually her love, like that kind of thing. Number 2, very similar to that, is any story set in a wealthy boarding school that is your private series type of thing. I generally don't like anything set in a boarding school, sometimes with magic, but even that's iffy, unless the boarding school is the setting for a horror or a zombie novel. So as long as it's not super swanky by the end of the story, I'll probably read it. But any book where it's set in this fancy boarding school for rich kids the entire way through, and it's all about being a fancy rich kid at this fancy boarding school, don't really care. I've never been to one. I never wanted to go to one. I did go to a private school actually for like 2 years, and it was whatever. But yeah, unless you destroy it with zombies or other horrible things. No boarding schools for me. Going along with that, this isn't so much a no unless as much as it is two sides of a character that can get kind of mixed up. So I don't like stories with rich people problems, but I do like stories about rich people with problems. Now, what I mean by that is Bruce Wayne becoming an orphan at a young age is a rich person with a problem. 90% of the nonsense that goes on in the Gossip Girl series, rich people problems. I would like the problems to still be applicable to people of multiple age ranges or multiple financial statuses. So, for example, if you have a young, wealthy girl whose parents announce they're getting a divorce and they both are trying to buy her affection to go live with them. Rich person with a problem. Girl freaking out because she can't find a date or the right dress for her cotillion rich people problems. I'm hoping that makes sense. The point is, I still want the problems to be something that even someone from a lower financial status could understand and not just say, oh my gosh, I have so much money, my purse is too heavy. That kind of thing. Number 4, I can count with my fingers, is one that's very widespread, and that is the Chosen One prophecy. I don't like it when book characters know who the protagonist is. What I mean by that is take the main character and everyone else treats them as something super special. And they all know, without telling you they know, that this person is going to solve the thing. The problem we have, yes, this stable hand will solve it, and everyone loves them already, or seems to be very focused on them for some reason, even though they're a stable hand, or what have you. Conversely, I would love a story where the Chosen One trope gets turned on its head, where you have a protagonist that flat out knows they're not the Chosen One, but like they've convinced everyone else they are, and so crap, now they gotta go through with it. Addendum, they actually can't be the Chosen One, so like they can't be like a late in the game plot twist that, JK, you actually were the Chosen One. No. I want this to be a fake it till you make it all the way through. Or a book where the protagonist thought they were the Chosen One for like literally the entire time, but then out of nowhere, whoop, JK, the side character is actually the Chosen One. It wasn't you, sorry. That kind of thing. I would love to see the Chosen One trope turned on its head entirely. Or just a case where the Chosen One fails. Like something like that. I don't want a story where it tells me this person is going to solve the problem and then they solve the problem. Like that's, like I know the ending from the synopsis. I don't want that, if that makes sense. And I'm also going to try not to say, if that makes sense, too many times. But if I do, turn it into a drinking game. Have a ball. Number 5. And this is, again, I'm not trying to make this tea. A romance where the man has more power than the woman. Now, I don't mean physical power. I mean financial, political, societal power. This is the romance where she's a college student, but he's a CEO. She's a beat cop, he's a special agent. That kind of thing where he has one-upped her in society in a certain way. I am not the biggest fan of that because I feel like it's saying something about how romances are supposed to work. Not that it actually is. This isn't tea. I made the 1 tea video. That was enough. Unless he loses the power or she gains power equivalent to his, but not with his help. Meaning she's a young college student. Okay, he's a CEO, but then she has a business that takes off without him. Not she gets money from him. No. Or she might be the B cop and he might be the special agent, but she has to save his life in some situation. Something where it starts off with the uneven power setup and then gets flipped where she takes power back or takes agency back and evens the scales. And again, I mean like in the same way that he has more power than her. So saving does not mean, oh, she saved him from himself or saved him from his demons. No, she saved his life from the terrorist they were chasing or whatever it was. but the standard, she gets kidnapped, he saves her, and that's how they know they're in love type of situation. Not my cup of tea. It was at one point in time, but not anymore. Up next, I'm going to remind you one more time, this is not supposed to be tea. I really am not the biggest fan of Beauty and the Beast retellings. Just because there's so many of them and there's not a lot of variation within them, unless you add that variation. Either A, the Beast and Beauty are switched, where the woman is the Beast and the man is the Beauty, or B, it doesn't end with a happily ever after with them in love. She realizes, hey, dude's a beast, I'm gonna check out. That kind of thing. Otherwise, it comes across like a kidnapping kink. Which it's a valid kink. I'm not kink shaming. It's just not one I have. If I found out someone's locked me in a room, I'm probably gonna start kicking things and quietly contemplating my captor's eyes. Number 7, amnesia as a plot premise. Unless it's a character study. Now, amnesia as a plot premise is usually a case of they wake up and they don't know who they are, and the entire point of the plot is them uncovering who they are. That's it's fairly overdone, and it's not necessarily one I'm that into anymore, usually because a lot of times they tend to be chosen one-esque. Maybe not literally in those words, but it tends to be something similar. However, I have found that I really love it as a character study. Probably the best example of that I could give is Restart by Gordon Corman. This was a take on amnesia that I had never read before, and I loved it, where a 12-year-old boy wakes up in the hospital with amnesia, and he knows who his family is, like his mom's there. No one's lying to him, or at least not trying to. However, when he gets back to school and he finds out more about his life, he realizes that he was kind of a horrible person. And so it's this whole idea of who he was versus who he is now, and looking at his life as an outsider, and is he destined to fall back into those old ways, or can he actually change, and how did he fall from the roof in the first place, and that kind of stuff. So that aspect of looking at your own life like an outsider, or seeing your life from a different perspective, would honestly be awesome. I'd love to read more of that. But the whole, they wake up and can't remember their name and they must figure out their identity, I'm not the most intrigued by that. Although, like, if you left it open-ended, maybe if you were like, yeah, they don't know who they are, and they just don't know who they are now, and this is who they are at the moment. Sure, let's go with that. I actually do enjoy open-ended endings when they're done well, but for the most part, not the biggest fan of amnesia. What did I say? Are we on number 8? And this one has less to do with the premise and more to do with the author, and I tend to not, how do I want to word this? I'm very hesitant about queer male romances written by women. I have been burned with the fetishizing before. If you have watched my Best and Worst of Indie book series, you will know the book that I despise more than anything else was a queer romance written by a woman, and it was just the most fetishizing, creepy thing I'd ever read, and I don't want to be burned again. So if you are a woman that has written a male romance, I will probably ask what research you've done, or maybe ask for an excerpt ahead of time. I actually have already done this. I had one woman send me the synopsis for the story, and I was like, hey, FYI, just so we're on the same page, just so we're clear, could I get like an excerpt of maybe one of the romantic steamy scenes so that I can make sure that's something I actually want to get into. And again, that's not tea. That's not me saying, oh, all these women fetishizing gay men. It's just, I have been hurt before and I do not want to be hurt again. Number 9. I've gotten yelled at Twitter for this one. Um, but this is a book where a teenager is the one in charge. And I don't mean nominally. I mean like they're actually commanding the troops or making the laws or what have you. Unless they're bad at it. Or they have advisors, and those advisors are the only reason they're good at it. Because if you look over the course of history, the majority of rulers who were rulers very young had advisors, had a bunch of other people kind of basically using them as a puppet, or it didn't end well. Like, yeah, Joan of Arc was this great figurehead, but her side lost. That's why she got executed in the first place, was because her side lost. So if you follow through with that of, yeah, maybe the 16-year-old in charge of this, a group of people is not the greatest thing. And I know I've gotten so many hiccups like, well, there was this person at this time. There's like maybe a handful of historical figures that you could truly say ran under their own power under the age of 20. And I mean, even then, they were training from the age of like 5. But in general, it comes across a little bit more as wish fulfillment for me than for a genuine, look how well teenagers can run the world type of thing. But if you have the whole struggle of, crap, I don't know what I'm doing, I need someone else to help me figure out how to do this, I would be much more interested in that story. Given that the advisor doesn't turn out to be evil. Because I'm over that one. And let's see. Oh, yes. I don't even remember what number I am. Is it 10? It might be 10. Yes, it's 10. A super soft magic system. Now, I don't need there to be a ton of rules in my magic system in a book, but I need some. I need there to be some kind of setup, some kind of framework, so it's not just, oh yes, and now he can do this. Unless the protagonist does not have any of the magic. Unless it is a case of where the magic is sparsely used, or it's all side characters that don't pop up a lot, or maybe it only comes from the villain. Basically, if you're going to use soft magic, I want it farther away from the protagonist. Otherwise, I feel you can fall into very dangerous territory of having it be a plot convenience where anytime you have a plot issue come up, you can be like, oh wait, no, he can do this now, so this isn't a problem anymore. But in general, I prefer a little bit harder magic systems. And the last one, and that's the one that I've only realized recently that I don't like because I didn't really understand what it was supposed to be. And that is magical realism. I didn't know what this genre was supposed to be. And it turns out that I actually thought it was the exact opposite of what it was, because I thought it was, oh, we're going to take a real take on magic. So we're going to get into the science of the magic. But no, it's actually the exact opposite. They don't get into it. They just accept it at face value, which to me says fairy tale, not magical realism. But fine, whatever. That's the terminology used. And I'm not the biggest fan of it unless it's not set in the modern world, because it's a little bit easier for me to understand it, because we live in a day and age where people question everything so much that to set up a world where, oh yeah, it's the 21st century America or 21st century wherever, and this wondrous and really strange thing happened, and everyone's like, yeah, okay, chill, moving on. That's not my case. I want to question it, and so I want them to question it, and just not questioning it will bug me. And you will see that in every magical realism book I've ever read, back when I thought it was the exact opposite of what it actually was. That is always my problem. Why aren't they questioning this? Why aren't they getting into it? Why is it just happening? Everyone's accepting it. That's just what the actual genre is. And I just didn't know. So I would prefer if it was set somewhere else where it's just accepted that this thing happens, because this thing has always happened and it just happens and we're just chill with it. And even then, though, that kind of goes into soft magic system territory. So in general, really reluctant about magical realism, unless it's slight and not in the 21st century. And that is my list, more or less. There's a couple more, but I'm trying to make sure that this doesn't come across as a tea spilling video. So if you're really not sure if I would like a certain kind of book, just ask. Comments in this video or Twitter DMs or an email, whatever it is. I genuinely am trying to read as wide a variety as possible. I am trying to broaden my horizons. I might do another video where I talk about genres that I want to read more of, that I haven't read that much of, but have liked what I've read so far and want to get more into. But for right now, this video has gone on for far too long, so I'm going to end it here. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. If you are one of the people that has subscribed to my channel recently, hi. I really hope you're not expecting more of the video that you subscribe from, because I don't do that stuff a lot. But I'm glad you're here, and I hope you have a wonderful day and a marvelous tomorrow.